The Washington Post published an article. President Trump has made more than 10,000 false or misleading claims. And I wanted to take the opportunity to discuss this tally that the Washington Post has been doing all these, I think, since Trump was elected. And there's a chart that shows, I'll throw it up on the screen if I can get a good screen cap of it. It shows over time the frequency of his lies, the number of them, and you can see in relation to things like the midterm elections, when he signed that bill into law, the tax bill, or the travel ban from way back when. And you notice that it's a pretty steep fucking curve. Meaning he's really telling a lot of lies. Like he's really telling a great many lies more now than he was at the beginning. The average per day, they say, is up to like 22 per day of just lies that he's saying. So I want to read this quote. About 1/5 of the president's claims are about immigration issues, a percentage that has grown since the government shutdown over funding for his promised border wall. In fact, his most repeated claim, 160 times, is that his border wall is being built. Congress balked at funding the concrete wall he envisioned, and so he has tried to pitch bollard, I don't know how to pronounce that word, fencing, and repairs of existing barriers as walls. So he's literally saying that it's being built when it's not. It's the level of dishonesty is
immense.
It's over 9,000. It's over 9,000. Literally, his lie power is over 9,000. It's well over 10,000 now. So I'm going to go on with this. It's a lengthy quote, but I want to go over how they conclude this article, and then I actually want to spend some time just going through some of his major claims. But Trump's campaign rallies continue to be a rich source of misstatements and falsehoods, accounting for about 22% of the total. The rally in Green Bay on April 27th, this is April 27th of this year, was little different, with claims that covered a range of issues. He just had this rally, and it was in a stadium. And yeah, it was an immense ordeal. And he said, I know that he made the claim about abortion, that mothers and doctors were conspiring about whether or not they wanted to execute newborns. He said that. Yeah. He said that with a straight face. He exaggerated the size of trade deficits with Japan, China, and European Union, and falsely claimed the United States loses money from such deficits. I guess that's not true. He said he had nothing to hide from the Russia investigation, but refused to testify under oath. He continued his practice of inflating the jobs created under his administration by starting the count from the election, not his inauguration. He launched a series of exaggerated or false attacks on Democrats, including claiming the Green New Deal would require every building in Manhattan be replaced, and saying Democrats support the killing of healthy babies that have been born, which is no. The Post, the author of this article, just puts no in quotations. That's all he says. Or she. I have no idea who wrote it.
Well, obviously someone with at least, a middle school education.
Right. He overstated the possible impact of the new trade agreement with Canada and Mexico in myriad ways, and trashed the North American Free Trade Agreement, even though the differences are modest. And I know he does this, because I've heard him do it all the time. Yeah. He took credit for funding a program, the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, his administration tried to eliminate. He made a series of false claims about immigration, such as open borders bring tremendous crime. There's no documented link between illegal immigration and crime. He claimed he passed the biggest tax cut in history. No. And he said he had cut the estate tax to 0. Also no. He said he was one vote away from repealing Obamacare. Not even close. He falsely said the United States paid for almost 100% of NATO. That Saudi Arabia inked 450 billion in deals with the Trump administration? No. And even that the United States subsidizes the Saudi military, U.S. Aid amounts to 10,000 a year. He even claimed that he insisted the new embassy in Jerusalem be made of Jerusalem stone, even though ever since the British mandate in then Palestine, municipal laws have required that all buildings must be faced with the local form of limestone that has a warm golden hue. That last one's really weird. And so the reason I wanted to belabor that and just read all of it out is I don't think we should be sort of underestimating the power of his Lies of the Century World Tour. Because he's not being perceived as a politician giving a speech. He's being treated, it's middle-aged and older, mostly white people who are treating it like an Eagles concert or some other thing that they worship, like football or fucking NASCAR or some other inane waste of time and energy. And I think that's incredibly dangerous in a way that, in a very similar way to the way the mega churches are with their giant, like, multi-thousand person congregations, and it's televised, and there's just no limit on the level of mistruth and dishonesty that they can just pump into the universe. And so anyway, I wanted to discuss a few of those. Do you have anything you want to add at the moment?
Yeah. Towards your comment there, I saw this great article. I only saw the headline. I've got it saved, but it basically the headline was something to the effect of Trump makes these grandiose claims because his base enjoys it. And I think it's 100% true. And I think a lot of people, generally speaking, they don't bother to ever fact check. They don't. I mean, if you remember the election on Facebook, that was a big thing. Everybody, fact check your memes before you share them and da-da-da. People don't do that. So when he comes out and he has these grandiose BS claims and he gets all these cheers and people just eat it up because they just assume it's true. And then if you say it's not, they're just like, oh, well, you're fake media. You're fake news. Sad.
Or they take this other tactic that's becoming increasingly popular that we've talked about on the channel before, which is the idea that no matter what wrong or evil Trump does or perpetuates, or that any Republican politician does, it's always covered under their perception of turnabout as fair play. So somebody at some time in your camp did something that was bad enough, or that I think was bad enough, that even if what you're saying about Trump is true, it's nullified because turnabout's fair play. What about when your team cheated? And so there isn't any way telling them that what Trump says is false doesn't matter, because even if they agree with you that it's false, they don't care, because surely somebody that you agree with has also done something that's equally bad. When you say to a conservative, I think it's fucked up that Trump did these giant tax breaks, they're just going to say, well, what about this tax thing that happened under Clinton? Or what about when Hillary did this thing that, or why isn't Bernie Sanders book free? Or some other deflection from the issue. They effectively make it impossible for you to have a discussion that criticizes, they make it so you can't criticize any actions of the current administration, because they've already decided that you are unclean because you're a part of a team that they have decided has done enough evil things that anything that their side does is at the lowest possible measure. Like I said, turnabout is fair play. But most of the time they won't even go that far. Most of the time they're just going to say, well, you're taking it out of context, or that's fake news, or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just really hard to get someone who's in that position already to even acknowledge that, the real evil here is not that I'm against you or I'm on B team or what have you. It's that the thing that is going on is bad and it should stop. I don't care who does it. They
Well,
won't
and-
acknowledge it.
Yeah, but the reason that I want to cover Trump's lies on this channel is not because I think that I'm going to convince some conservative that Trump's a liar. I think they already know that. I think the problem is their bad faith interpretation of his actions, not that they don't understand what his actions are or that they're bad. So the reason is to make sure that you, our viewers who are either sympathetic to our position or who are undecided, that you can know which things the people in power are saying that are overtly false.